Thank you, Amy. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be with all of you here today. I want to thank Rochester Mayor Malik Evans, Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter, and Rochester Police Chief Dave Smith for joining me today. Let me be clear. I don't want anyone in my county to live in fear of being in their own home. No family should live in fear to send their children to school or outside the front door to play. The scourge of violence, illegal guns and shootings, and homicides must end. Record violence and homicides are terrorizing innocent civilians who live in fear of gunfire and stray bullets. This is a crisis, and like the mayor, the sheriff, and the police chief, I'm outraged. Our residents deserve better, and it's going to take the entire community working together to resolve it. Today, we are proposing a 5-year, $8.5 million county investment to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office to help with combating illegal guns in support of the Rochester Police Department. This investment will fund the addition of 11 new sheriff deputies to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office so we can support Rochester Police and combat the current escalation of violence and homicides. The 11 additional deputies will be able to give full-time support for violent crime response, keep the Sheriff's Office zones fully staffed countywide, and back up the Rochester Police Department as needed. These deputies will work in coordination with the Rochester Police Department and Major Crimes Unit to support the City of Rochester with violent felony investigations and help process digital forensic evidence, and will also be able to work with the ATF to target illegal gun trafficking. The additional funding will support any necessary overtime required to support the Rochester Police Department. The plan funds a preventive multidisciplinary team to intervene in the cycle of violence. The teams will combine enforcement with clergy, social workers to follow up with victims and their families in gun arrests. This plan uses enforcement and prevention to intervene with those involved in violent crime before the level of violence escalates to shootings and homicides. In addition, it provides support for jail services aimed at breaking the cycle of violence by providing direct engagement with those individuals to reduce repeat offenses. It focuses on preparing incarcerated individuals for successful reentry into our community. The sheriff can speak to those details shortly. But I want everyone to know violent crime, it impacts everyone. It doesn't matter where you live in this county. The violence we are facing impacts all of us. This scourge of crime and lawlessness calls for a community-wide response. Our job as government leaders is to keep our residents safe and healthy. Today, we are all standing together in partnership to help. One family living in fear in their own home in our county is one too many. It's my pleasure to introduce Todd Baxter to the podium, who will speak next, who will give more specific plans as to how the Sheriff's Department will be able to utilize this funding to support the Rochester Police Department.
Thank you, County Executive, and thank you for the unprecedented support of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. 81 homicides, 350-some shootings last year. Each one of those shootings 2 inches away from a homicide. If not for the luck of the bullet strike and great medical staff in our community, we could add 350 homicides last year very easily. It was luck and good medical staff. This is a plague, and we got to address it as a plague. So these unprecedented actions and this additional funding to the Sheriff's Office is our contribution to fight this. What we're going to do with these fundings, 5 additional deputies will be assigned to our tactical unit. That's our proactive response to emerging crime patterns, whether it's violence surging in the city of Rochester or something else occurring throughout the county. That'll give us sufficient resources to deploy in a proactive mode crime solving, crime fighting strategies. Right now, that'll allow us to actually double our tactical unit. That'll also help us stabilize our patrol zones, as we've been trying to help many jurisdictions, including the city of Rochester. That's a draw and a burden on our zones. Obviously, we can never leave our zones unsupplied with a sufficient number of deputies, but that's also a draw when we just go to overtime. That's inefficient, ineffective. We've been doing this for a couple years. So this funding will allow us to stabilize that, add 3 additional deputies to our zone patrols. So in addition to doubling the size of the TAC unit, we're putting 3 additional deputies in the zone patrols. 1 deputy will be assigned to the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Task Force. We know we have a pipeline of illegal guns, very important here, illegal guns coming into our community. And we want to do our part like we do with many other federal task force, and that's put a deputy into the task force to help track and find out who's got this iron pipeline coming to our community and see what we could do to assist in cutting that off. One deputy will be assigned as a community liaison deputy. And as the county executive mentioned, we got a very successful model going with the Monroe County Heroin Task Force. We have one deputy assigned that follows up within 24 hours of an overdose in our county. We're going to double that down now with the one additional deputy, and he or she will follow up within 24 hours, hope, at a house where an arrest has been made for a CPW, criminal possession of a weapon, or if there was a shooting arrest that was made from that house. Not so much for the person being accused, but for that family. See if we can get in that house with clergy, see if we can get that house with social workers, and make an introduction to possibly stabilize that home. That's our other commitment here. It's a well-funded plan, but also a well-proven plan with our heroin task force. Deputy Mike Favada has been doing exactly that and being very effective on the overdose. One deputy will be assigned to our digital forensics criminal investigation section. As you can only imagine, digital technology is really taken off in criminal investigations, both to conduct an investigation and after the post-investigation and prepare for court cases. So we are doubling down on that and putting that additional deputy in there. Where deputies won't go, but additional funding will go, is into focused deterrence inside the jail. There's a proven model of directly addressing people that we know are involved in violent activity, calling them to a table, and offering them services, offering them opportunities to straighten their life out. It's a direct conversation with them with our supporting cast. For instance, Victor Saunders and his group, and their awesome work the mayor is doing on this prevention. We have them in custody. We make sure we do all we can while they're in custody to break that cycle of violence before they leave the jail. And the last part this funding will assist us with is just that. We know our gap in the jail right now is reentry. We do hundreds of programs in the Monroe County Jail trying to set people for success before they leave. But if they walk out those doors on Plymouth Avenue with no direct contact to support mechanisms, that's where we lose a lot of these folks. So we're investing some of this money into the reentry part of this jailing and get those resources into our jail, connectivity with the inmate before they leave, and long-term connectivity to the other side. So simply put, people are hurting, folks. People are terrorized, as the county exec said. We have a job to do as the sheriff's office to support the Rochester Police Department, but any police department throughout our community. And we cannot tolerate what's been occurring, and this is our investment and our commitment into this plan of action. Thank you. Now we'll turn over the podium to the mayor, Mayor Malik Evans.
Thank you. You know, the concept of bridge building cannot just be words on paper, hyperbole. It has to be put into action. And the county executive has demonstrated that. The challenges that we have in the city affect our entire community because, as I said, the city of Rochester is the heartbeat. And if the heartbeat is weak, the rest of the body will fall by the wayside. So this investment is absolutely on time and critical. Let me thank you, Mr. County Executive, for that investment. Let me thank the sheriff also for your partnership. The one piece I want to zero in on, which is absolutely critical for us as a community, is the work that's going to be happening in that jail. Almost every person in that jail, unless they're a murderer or done something very heinous, they're going to come back out on the streets. If we do not have a plan for them, if they do not have direction on where they will go, they will re-offend and they will wreak havoc again, and it will become a revolving door. What we want to work on is that when an individual goes into that jail, we want to make sure that that is their last time in that jail unless they are going to be going there next time as a deputy or as an attorney to visit their client. And how we can do that is by being preventative and making sure that we're giving them those resources. And I'll end with a story. I've been around Rochester for a long time. I started out as a youth involved with the Rochester Challenge Against Violence. I was just talking to a reporter about that early on. So my involvement in the community came as a result of the violence that was happening and wreaking havoc on the streets in the city of Rochester in the 90s. And when I was a teenager, we had someone murdered outside our home, and it was two folks that had just gotten out of the Monroe County Jail. And they did not solve or squash that beef that they had. And my father, I still remember the district attorney coming over to our house, witnessed with his own eyes these two guys that had just gotten out of the county jail. They couldn't deal with the anger that they dealt with, that they should have dealt with in prison and while they were in the jail. And the one would not have ended up going to prison. They got in an argument. One shot the other one. The other one chases after the other one that was shot. He ends up dying, all because of some beef, some slight that they had. This happens all too often in our community when people are angry, misplaced, directionless, don't know where they go. This Cain and Abel syndrome of brothers killing brothers. We're seeing this in our city and it needs to stop. And we need a proactive approach to be able to stop it. So this action that is going to be taking place in the county jail is absolutely critical. That's the prevention piece. But let me also be real and talk a little bit about the suppression piece. We have individuals that think that it is okay for them to walk around carrying, and let me be clear with our Second Amendment folks, we're talking about people carrying illegal firearms, people who are trafficking in illegal guns and bringing them into our city. We need help with that, and it requires an all-hands-on-deck approach, and this will help with that. So I'm grateful for that as well. Our approach at the city is clear. It's suppression, it's prevention, and intervention, and we do them all simultaneously. Nothing works without the other two, and this, the county executive's investment, will support all three of those. So, Mr. County Executive, Mr. Sheriff, I want to thank you for your commitment. I want to thank you for not only just words, but actions, because action speaks louder than words. In the world of politics, dollars speak even more than words, and there are dollars that are being put behind this initiative. So I look forward to the continued partnership, and I pray that the other leg of the stool, which is the community, will join us as we seek to stop the scourge of gun violence that has been ravaging our community for too long. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. As I've said many times before, the Rochester Police Department has been facing some challenges the past year. The first of those challenges is obviously our staffing crisis. I've spoken about the numbers many times. I have to give credit again to the officers in the rank and file who have been coming in, working extra shifts, spending extra time here to try and make up the difference, time away from their families. Especially our major crimes unit, as you know from the homicide numbers, how much time they are spending here. But that comes at a cost. It comes at a cost to their families. It comes at a cost to their health. It comes at a cost to the rest of their life. So we try and monitor that and make sure that everyone goes home healthy and happy. The other part of that is obviously we need to refill our ranks. We have enough paid positions. What we have trouble with is finding folks to fill them due to an above average attrition rate the past few years. We simply haven't been able to hire quickly enough to fill them. We've reinvigorated our recruitment process since last fall. We've been working very diligently on it. We were able to actually give a test in April. We had a decent turnout for that. We have 22 recruits in the academy now. We are anticipating a recruit class in the fall, and we're anticipating another recruit class in the spring. In addition to that, and this is breaking news that I didn't have last time we spoke, a number of officers from other departments have applied to transfer to the Rochester Police Department. Now the advantage with these officers is they're already trained, they're already certified, so we can bring them on board. It's a much shorter training time. We're anticipating having at least 10 in July, which means they should be out hitting the streets in August. So we're very excited for that. The other challenge we've been facing is obviously the rise in violence that we've seen. My folks have been working very hard. I talk all the time about, and you see we release every day, the number of arrests we've made, the number of guns we've taken off the street. But clearly there is more out there than we can handle. It's going to take a team effort. So I'd like to thank the county exec and the sheriff's office and our partners in the state police, although they're not here today. They're going to pitch in and help us with the enforcement part and take some of the load off my officers. And hopefully, all working together, these targeted enforcement areas, we're going to be able to see a difference very soon. The other part of our program, as always, is to continue with our community outreach. We have many events that we do through our Community Affairs Bureau. It is summer is upon us, so it is, outreach season, basically. The COVID and the winter months kept us apart for far too long. So we are reinvigorating our community outreach to reestablish our relationships in the community that quite frankly, due to a number of circumstances, have gone by the wayside. So looking forward to getting that going again, seeing community members, building relationships, and also looking forward to hopefully some lower violence numbers in the very near future. And just can't say thank you enough. And, the officers in my department, I think, appreciate it very much as well, that they're going to have a little more help out there. Thanks.
Thank you, Chief. We'll now take some of your questions.
Correct. So it's 68 vacancies, but you have to add to that to the 22 that are in the academy because they count as being on the job, but they're not deployable. So you're talking around 90. If we get the 10 to 15, then they will be immediately available, July and August, and they'll go right to patrol. So that would put us around, the problem with the recruits in the academy is they're here, they count on my books, I pay for them, but they can't be deployed to the street. So you take the 68 true vacancies, you add the 22 in the academy that can't go to the street yet, and that's where you come up with the 90. But if we hire 10 to 15, like I said, they're already trained, they're already certified. We just have to bring them up to speed with how we do things, and then they go to work.
And then the additional deputies that will be working with working you, are they on a permanent position in the role of assisting RTE?
So no, that will not be a permanent position. They're 5 of those members are going to join our tactical unit, which deploys throughout the whole county for emerging crime trends. This one in particular, they've been in the city, the majority of them, for the last year and a half, helping on the violence problem, right, and augmenting the heroin task force and on their warrants and search warrants and things like that. They support the investigators most often with uniform patrols. So our ability to double that size of that unit gives us 2 shifts of those people, and putting 2 shifts into the city for this weekend as an example would be a great thing to do. Things like that. And then the other additional positions besides those. But those guys will be permanently assigned to our tactical unit, which gives us a lot of flexibility, a lot of agility. And with that agility, we can respond to crime patterns anywhere in Monroe County, but in particular now in the city of Rochester to help our PD. I think it makes a great statement, first of all, to the community that we all care, right? The sheriff's office does not have to be doing what we're doing right here, right? It's as simple as that. The sheriff's office can really pretty much ignore what's going on in the city, but that's not who we are. We care, and I think that's one statement. When you see trooper cars out there, when you see other jurisdictions helping out, because the community's in turmoil. And today it's the city of Rochester with this violence, but it could be a rape pattern out in Hamlin next time. We all care. That's our job function. I think that's the first thing people need to hear. We don't need to be doing this. We are doing this above and beyond because we care. People are living in fear on their own front porch. We all agree that's total BS. That shouldn't occur in our community. So we're going to do all we can to help support that.
Will residents be seeing more patrols of the sheriff's department on city streets?
So just be absolutely clear, just like the chief said, it takes a while to hire these new positions. What this funding allows us to do is we have a fall academy, so we're allowed to put these additional positions now into that fall academy and realize them as trained deputies later on. But this allocation of funding also comes with additional overtime funding that allows us to now support the city, both with these types of details, ATV details, dirt bike details, things like that. Instead of just going back to the well and trying to squeeze that budget line, we've also been allocated additional funding to get us through that summer and into that hiring process till we get those full-time deputies in position. And just like the chief, we're all fighting for those same positions, right? We're all recruiting from the same pool, and we got a very intense program on, again, looking for laterals to come into the county and work with us also. That's a great stopgap measure. The academy is the best, but it's definitely an investment of time and resources to get someone trained up. Well, one of the testimonies, that we heard today, I heard it on the radio, was like, you got a mom in fear of sitting on her own front porch. That's called terrorism in my world, right? That's How can we accept that? You know, so having a uniform car, whether it's a blue and white, black and white, a trooper car, sitting down in the corner with a police officer, certified police officer, what it is, you know, give that presence that we care, but also we're here to respond. Feel safe, come out, enjoy your beautiful day, bring your kids down to the store. So anytime we can put a uniform car, we can't have a presence on every corner, but anytime we can assist, just imagine you being in that neighborhood, fearful to sit on your own front porch, but now you see a car going down a few more times a day. It just gives you that sense of security. And obviously we're a lot closer should a shots fired call come in to back up the RPD. As we've seen, you know, having cars close definitely helps in the investigation and the apprehension of these people that are willing to shoot up a neighborhood. So I think, can I answer your question twofold? One, prevention is the most important part here, right? The Victor Saunders, I keep on pointing them, and all this money we're putting into prevention, that's by far the most important. We can cut this all off, could have done it 10 years ago, right? But now we're investing in these communities, we're investing in these kids, investing in the homes, right? That's very important. Part of our investment's going into the home and see if we can help stabilize that home. That's one. The other part that's different here is we're actually increasing the size of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. First time this has happened in 30 years. Right, we're increasing because we're being drawn to different needs in the community, whether it's the city of Rochester or somewhere else. That's an investment that we haven't seen. Adding this number of deputies to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office to be there for the community, the emerging crime trends, that just the technology we take in on investigations, the cell phone, the ring cameras, all these things. Now we're dedicating a deputy who can at least collect evidence, processing of those things, and get those into analysis as quick as possible for us to help prosecute a case, as an example. You know, that's investment. A deputy invested in the community to go to those houses a day after their son's been arrested for criminal possession of a weapon. Let's see if we can go help that mom out. What service can we provide? Probably won't be us. We're just trying to get the door open. It's probably going to be all our friends in the community helping that family out. Right?
And then taking care of the officers, like the chief was saying, what are y'all doing to kind of help keep them from experiencing burnout? Because I imagine they're tired after having to go to all of these calls. This rising violence just continues no matter what they're
Yeah, just like the chief, I cannot, there hasn't been one time I've been sheriff, in particular in the last 2 years, that I haven't called upon these guys and gals to do something. Augment the heroin task force. That was our first initiative, right? Then augment the Marshals task force. Then augment the Rochester Police Department. All these things are a drain on every cop. We're asking them to do additional duties, right? We're not pulling anybody out of our zones. Those are additional duties that people call. So they're strained just from that point. And then you nailed it, the vicarious trauma of our job or anybody else's job. Your job as reporters. When you go to these homicide scenes, you absorb a little of that. And we just got to be very intentional with the wellness of our deputies and the wellness of our police officers. And one of the things is to support them. This is support for our deputies. I hope they hear that loud and clear. The county is supporting the Monroe County Sheriff's deputies by this additional funding, saying we know you've been working that extra time, and it's not the most efficient way to do it either. So let's actually support and resource the Sheriff's Department the way it should be, is one of the statements we're making here.
Chief, can I ask you, I know that you boosted the recruiting efforts and a lot has been done to try to get more officers, but is something really done? I don't know if we need to take that more, or we have to have them all live in the city, and I understand the reason for that. But what's preventing, what's the biggest reason they're not keeping them all applying?
At this point, I don't think so. I mean, this is the time of the Great Resignation. Many employers can't find employees. It's a nationwide thing. It's not specific to, I mean, law enforcement suffers from it, just like many other employers suffer from it, but it isn't necessarily that specific to law enforcement at this point. I mean, we can always do better. One of the things we're working on is our workforce development program. So one of the problems we identified is, you know, it takes a long time to hire. We're civil service. So we sign someone up, hey, in 6 months, come take the test. Well, in that 6 months to 8 months while they're waiting, they have no communication with us. They may go find another job. They may get interested in something else. So our workforce development program actually keeps them engaged while they're waiting to take the test. We have a group of about 150, almost 200 now, that come out every Sunday for an hour or two on their own time to meet with folks from my training staff. And we talk to them about how to prepare to take a civil service test. We show them what the job is about. They may decide that they don't want to take the test in the fall, but it gives them a better idea of what's going on. And we've learned that today's young need to remain engaged. It's like Twitter. If you're not twittering, you're losing them. So it's tweeting. You can tell I'm not on social media. So it's our way of keeping them engaged and keeping them interested.
Are you quick? Because I know you get her asking questions. It'd be like a one-on-one interview. Yes, one quick question before I have to go meet with veterans. Yes.
Kind of your reaction to all of this. I mean,
Well, I'm here.
you did announce, of your coalition.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
How that's going.
Yes.
That announcement, and how much commitment do you think? How do you think county
Yep.
pitch in?
Question. So your question is my reaction to it. Well, I think my presence here says that I'm grateful for the collaboration, as I said in my remarks. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a community to help lift Rochester. And that entire community consists of Monroe County. Rochester is at the center of that. The county executive and I have had conversations regularly, almost weekly, about what the county can do to help assist us. So I am very, very excited about this program. I think that it is great. And I think the other piece is, someone asked another question about, I think it was Channel 8, about the enforcement side, but you shouldn't also miss that the sheriff's message. He wasn't just focused on the enforcement side. He also talked about the focused deterrence in the prisons. So I think that for all that are out there, you have to understand he talked about prevention, intervention, and suppression. And all of us are up here saying that we are committed to those three things, and they cost dollars to do that. We can't do it by ourselves. We have to do it collectively. That's what the county executive is saying today. So how do I feel about it? I think it's great. And I think my presence here is recognition of the great work that the county executive is doing in collaborating along with the sheriff's department and helping that we make Rochester a great place for everybody. So we're excited about it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Mayor, pleasure to see you, buddy. Thank you very much. Be well.
See you tonight.
Hey, Patrick. How are you?
Oh.
I believe this is Amy's book?